way, the paradox here, and the the irony is that we can use the reality of death to make life horrible until we die, or we can use the reality of death to cut away the bullshit, and then life can at least be miraculous until we die. So, and once again, this is the real importance of free will. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I really love the quote, and I've probably said it a bunch of times on this conversations with you, but you either make yourself happy or miserable, but the work is all the same.
Right.
And
Right.
and I think it's really potent because that's a simple phrase, but like it breaks down what you were just saying is like you can have the same outlook on the same thing, and one person can take it as a total, this is the weight of the world's on my shoulder. I can't do anything. I'm just gonna give up. And the other person says, if I take that as the weight on the world and I can't do anything, I'm gonna give up, then how am I gonna accomplish the harder things in life? And how am I gonna ever reach my goals and do all the, amazing things I want to accomplish, or just have a fulfilling life to some degree? And and I think it's harder to accomplish things if you're just like every little step is such a burden on you. And that's
Right.
one of the important things to assess situations and be able to understand, is this really so bad, or is this just difficult and that's something I need to overcome? And
Right. And the answer is, of course, it's all of that.
yeah,
It
but
is. Again, I was just talking to somebody else about this just 10 minutes ago. Um, um, that again, this what you and I are attempting to do in these discussions, right? And maybe some people will get interested at a certain point. Is this is not positive affirmation. We are not doing fucking positive affirmation, which, by the way, I disdain. I hate that shit. Yeah.
so will you break that down a little bit? Because I was just having a conversation with my mom, and then she asked what it meant, and I had troubles really articulating what I thought it meant. So I would like to hear what you think it meant.
What do you
What do you
mean?
think it is? Positive affirmation, just like,
Positive affirmation.
yeah,
Positive affirmation is exactly what it sounds like, right? Um, and it's sort of like looking on the bright side of things. Yeah. Well, again, that is not what we are doing here. What I want you to do, and I said this to you right from the first round we did this, as you and I have been talking about for a decade,
yeah,
is look, let's bring up these ideas, and then you're allowed to say, "Man, bullshit, Chris." Yeah. I mean, that's woo woo. That's superficial, or it's not as real as the suffering, right? Then you got to go into why you feel it's bullshit. See,
yeah,
you
yeah. I
understand?
mean, a lot of the times I have no argument, but yeah, I do understand that definitely.
But again, you do have friends who you've told me are in perennial complaint.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
definitely.
it's their complaint.
I mean, I've had trouble trying to relate to them because I don't understand it sometimes. But I would say, like, we'll just use a friend and say the name is, for Dorothy. I'll just say Dorothy.
Okay,
You know, and they have everything that they want. Everything they want and need to the basic levels, like job, car, house, food, money. Ease of life to a certain degree. But yet, it's impossible to be happy about any difficulty is the end of the world you
right,
know
right,
and then it's not even just difficulties are the end of the world, it's I'm never happy.
right. And
So
then
how do you
and then I'm
yeah,
unhappy all through my life, and then I die. This all sucks.
yeah, it's all sucks and I want to die. I get
Right.
to the point I want to die.
Right. Except then when you actually get close to actually die, it's like, oh shit, no.
you know get in the car with a crazy driver and then you won't be saying I want to die.
All
Yeah.
right. Right. Yeah. So good. Well done. So far, so good. But if it's okay, again, we're coming. This really does come under the headline of I understand the utility of being in the now, but not the potential joy of being in the now.
Yeah,
See?
that's a utility, definitely. That was I was thinking of a utility just from that perspective of the person Dorothy that I was just talking about.
Now, part of this is our different life stages,
Yeah.
right? Where you are in your mid 20s, you are rightfully concerned with establishing, right, good, healthy, productive expressions of life, right? As a young man. That's good. That's worthy. I'm an old man now. I'm done with all that stuff, right? So it's
Hmm.
easier for me to come back to the buffet of being, right? Because the doing part of it is it's I'm sort of done with all that. Now I did all that. I did family, I did profession, and again, it was very satisfying, very difficult, very satisfying. And now I'm not in that state. I'm kind of like in my second childhood. It's really nice. That's why I say to all of you, all you got to do is wait.
Yeah, so I kind of see what you're saying. So there's also an aspect of what we're just talking about that's not about utility. It's also just about appreciating being and
I,
living.
I,
And
I,
it's yeah, and
I,
so, you know,
if we stick with
life.
living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, there's a certain amount of satisfaction in that because we are not living in the bowels of the South Bronx or the ghettos of Rio de Janeiro. We're living in fucking Santa Fe, which is gorgeous. That is
Yeah,
true. Yes, yes, right.
yeah.
But again, I knew a whole bunch of people in India who were again like, holy shit. Their norm. I told you this, but I'll bring it up again. Where my sponsor's wife had like what we use to take camping,
Hmm.
one of those Bunsen burner kind of camping things, whatever they're called, that has a little flame, right?
Just like a little like stove, like a little
Yeah, a little
portable
stove,
stove. Yeah,
right? Portable stove with a
yeah,
little gas tank, and we take that. We use that in America to go camping
yeah.
instead of building a fire with logs and stuff like that, right? Well, anyway, she had that equivalent, and she was the envy of the neighborhood. All the women would come over to watch her cook on that tiny little propane driven
Stove.
stove.
Yeah, yeah.
This big deal, you know what
And
I mean?
this was in India.
Yeah, and this
Yeah,
is this is damn near 50 years ago, so
yeah.
it's um
But so it's a lot of perspective, just that we can take these things for granted, while some people in other parts of the world they totally, they don't have those. So one of them is like a magical gift almost,
no, not almost, all thoroughly. And they
thoroughly. Yeah.
really all the women were, experiencing a fairly benign state of envy. And Jyoti, the name of the gal, Jyoti, again, she was the queen of the neighborhood because of that stove. Yeah,
Yeah,
And you and I would throw it into the corner of a garage and not give it a second thought, not a second thought. Yeah,
yeah.
as opposed to an Aboriginal or an Amazonian or even somebody from Northern Europe 200 years ago would view that thing as something like we would view a flying saucer or something.
Yeah, seriously. And then we're walking around with these cell phones that can, they're basically magical wands. You can communicate with people telepathically across the world, and we take that for granted. We take
Utterly,
we take it
utterly,
all for granted.
utterly.
So for someone who is living like a great life, but they can't ever find joy,
Tight.
and then someone who's living a not the greatest life, but they find joy in the most little objects, like a stove that
Yeah, who's
works really
smarter?
well. Yeah,
Who's smarter?
yeah,
Now, I'm
and
not saying who's right. I'm just saying who's smarter.
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say, obviously, for me personally, I would say the person who finds joy in the little objects, because at least their life is being improved, whereas the other person's life is not being improved. Their
Right.
life seems to
No
be,
matter how much they have, no matter how much they have.
yeah.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
And that's one thing you always hear in Americana is the more I get, the more it doesn't satisfy me.
Right.
But I just keep getting more and more, and it never satisfies me. And I go to shopping, and it doesn't satisfy me. I do this, and it doesn't satisfy me. But more and more and more, and and so it's like the cycle that we do here, is where we think these things, objects, are going to satisfy us, so we buy them, and it doesn't. But then we just keep doing it and double on, and we're looking for satisfaction and happiness. But I guess we're totally looking at the wrong way, because most of us are totally threadbare and not appreciative of anything, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
so so for someone like that, it I think I'm just trying to get into their shoes and say like, why is it hard for them to look at somebody else in a third world and them enjoying a little stove and not see the perspective there, not see the change? Maybe it's they've never seen perspective before. They have no idea that people are living like that and enjoying, little stoves, or they have and they don't have the ability to understand that could be them. I don't know. I'm just wondering why people can see that and not have that change them, affect them.
Going. Dude, I don't know why either. I don't know, except that I do know that despite whatever our life circumstance is, this is going to bring us back to the roller coaster of insubstantial drifting mind that Zen guy I read about, a couple of months ago now, which again articulates it so very specifically. Insubstantial. It has no substance.
Yeah.
Drifting mind. And that's what we do. We drift all day long. We drift. We just follow random thought as it unfolds, right? And that is what we put our attention on. That. And because of I think, therefore I am, I'm sorry, we keep going back to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I was just thinking about it.
It's so
Yeah. It's like my mom said to me yesterday she was having bad thoughts. Oh, yeah. I was making a joke and I said, hallelujah. And I said, bless God. And she was like, it's so funny. I was just thinking about stealing when I was saying bless God. And she was like, am I going to hell? Does that make me a bad person that I'm thinking about bad stuff while I'm thinking about God? And I was like, she was joking too. But I was like, no, no, no. That's all of our problems is we think we are our thoughts. But that is, the thoughts are just a product of you. You aren't that, you are not that. You're not robbing a person right now. You just had that wandering thought. And if
right.
we are our thoughts,
It is important to understand that while the thoughts of stealing from a person is random thought,
yeah,
it's still not a good thing. Why?
definitely,
Because we would not like to be stolen
yeah.
from.
But I think she was acknowledging that in the moment. But that's why she was saying, "Am I a bad person? Am I going to hell?" The God was brought up in the conversation, and immediately my mind went to stealing. Does that make me a bad person? And I was like, obviously that's not a good thing to be thinking about. But I think that like what it came to me is like I heard this guy, he was like a dad, and it was in a movie of some sort, and he was talking about how his mind drifts off towards some gay stuff sometimes, and he has to like not let him think about it because he's like, I'm not gay, I don't let myself think about it. And it made me think like we are not our minds. Our minds race into all kinds of crazy places, and
We
just
are
because
not thoughts.
our
We are not
thoughts,
thoughts. This is
that's what
where
I meant to say.
we're real subtle, and this is why the Hindus and the Buddhists, the mystics of those religious expressions. Again, I am humbled by the subtlety with which they approached all this stuff in separating consciousness from awareness.
Yeah, because like we're saying right now, it's a very important distinction because
Fundamentally important, right? Consciousness is the roller coaster of thought at worst, and then focused thought, as in building a house or making a meal or helping somebody, right? But all of that is consciousness, yeah,
mhm,
which comes out of awareness. See, but awareness is what's foundational, and this does come about experientially when you invest in meditation. It just does. It does. And
just and help me define it a little bit better. So like awareness, as in just taking in your surroundings and kind of
no, it's something even deeper than that. That's still consciousness. Consciousness means self in relation to other. Awareness is just awareness. It's just being aware. It's
just
just being aware.
just kind
Yeah.
of just existing.
It just existing. We'll say it like that, even though let's
Yeah,
take away the just.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Because it just makes it petty.
Can I
Yeah.
say, would this be as petty only existing?
No, just instead of only or just, let's take rid of that and say existing.
existing.
Which, by the way, we have not plumbed at all. We have no idea what we're saying when we say that. We have
I
no
mean,
idea.
all I know is that it's really hard to exist or to meditate or to just try to slow down the train of thought to the point where you are,
Well, this is
you
why
know,
you're treating meditation as a doing instead of a being. Where again, Alex, when you were on the plaza in Santa Fe, or I don't know, on near the university in Albuquerque, and there's all that traffic and horns beeping and people talking and all the rest of it, you don't hear it, right?
yeah, in the right situation, you can turn your brain off or
Right.
your
Again,
mind off,
this
or
next Manhattan night, even when I go back to Manhattan, it's loud for about 10 minutes, and then, it's not like I go deaf. The sounds are still there, but I don't align. I am not conscious of them.
yeah,
See? Right?
yeah.
Right.
No, I understand.
Right. So then in that state, you can be surrounded by noise, but you're not hearing it. It's the same with thought, you see, where you don't have to battle with thought, right?
Mhm.
As old Ken Kesey said, the hippie guy, you just turn around, walk away, and say, fuck it. That's what you do. I'm not gonna be conscious of this. I'm not gonna fight with it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Right? It's of secondary importance, like what we do with bird song when we are outside. We don't hear bird song. Yeah. Well, we might want to rethink that one because bird song is exquisite.
it's like most of the things in our life, we just are so used to it that we become blinded by it.
That's exactly right. We are so habituated to it that, again, the exquisiteness of it, the beauty of it, the mystery of it, the miracle of it, right? Yeah, is totally, totally absent. I was listening, just listening. I put all my attention into listening on the deck yesterday, right? And the bird song was like an orchestra. I mean, it
And
was like Bach, for Christ's sake.
yeah,
Yeah, right? Uh, Beautiful beyond expression, and subtle beyond expression, and specific beyond expression. Yes? So I'll go back to Aiken Roshi at 92 or 93 saying, I vow to take to the open road and distinguish the voice of birds and make the best use of my time. Right?
yeah, no, that's beautiful.
Right.
So I don't want to belittle what you say. So tell me if I'm off at any point.
Belittle
Yeah.
away. Go for it,
Well,
dude.
so one thing I've thought of is I have this little cat and he whines, he's so loud and he's so talkative. And and I talk back to him, and it's totally fine. But I've thought because my other cat ran away and who's come back now, she's came back and it's all good. But because she ran away, I've thought like what happens if he runs away and if he gets found by another family, how would they treat him if he was just whining the whole time? They would probably wouldn't like it. They probably would be like, "Oh, this is so annoying," stop. They'd be like, "Stop whining, stop whining." And like it's kind of like what you're just saying. It's the same thing as what bring it back to this whole beginning of the discussion is you can look at one situation and you can take out the beauty of the birds, or you could be like, "Oh, shut up, you birds! You're annoying." Be quiet out there. I'm trying to sleep. And it's two people looking at one situation from totally diametrically different point of views
Right.
and coming up with totally different outcomes,
Right.
but
Right.
the same situation.
Right. And one involves ease, joy, and wonder, and the other involves redundancy, complaint, and despair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I
I mean,
talk to my cat, it's so enjoyable. We have little conversations to each other, and it doesn't bother me at all. But like some people, like I've just heard it before. People are like, "Oh my God, it's so annoying when cats talk and whine before a lot." And it's like I don't I don't understand that. I don't see it as a nuisance or a bother. I don't know. I mean,
well,
like
I
maybe
also, I mean, Big Boy is the same way. He talks all the time, and I think it's because I talk to him, and I love it. Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's beautiful.
yeah,
Um, I was working with a guy one time, and he woke up to a fairly significant degree. I don't know if he went back into sleep again, but you know he was talking about how now when he wakes up in the morning, bird sound is just beautiful to him. It's beautiful. It's a lovely way to wake up to bird song. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
right? And then he said, "Yeah, my fiance woke up, and the first thing she said was fucking birds." You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, and so I think that's a good kind of description of everything that we've been talking about. You know, another one that I was just thinking of is how I've grown to love my apartment, and not love it. I mean, I guess I could say that, but just really appreciate what I
Hi,
have.
appreciate. Well done. Appreciate is the
I
word. Yeah.
have neighbors on my left side, or well, from
Uh-huh.
right here on my left. If they've gone through four different people since I've moved here. This is the fourth person that's lived there, and I don't think that it's like people are getting kicked out or anything like that. I think that people just don't like it because it's a small little house. You don't have many windows. You don't have a lot of, you don't have a lot of rooms. It's small. It's a small situation. The walls are thin. It's not the greatest apartment like most places are. But going to Asia, when I was in Asia,
Well done,
you know,
Alex.
they all lived in small apartments like that, as well. And they made the most of them, like the little burner that you're talking about. They didn't even have kitchens, but they would have their own little, they made it work. They had little stations where they would clean their white shoes every morning, and they'd be able to, do their food and then clean all their dishes all in one area, because they don't have a kitchen, but so they have to like situate it really, specifically so it's all organized and so they can, go from one thing to the next. But like they make it work is my point, is they make it work even with a much smaller space than most of us do, and they don't
And
complain.
and they don't bitch. Exactly.
I'm sure they do, but not as much as we do,
Not, well, in my experience, at least in South India, and albeit this is a long time ago, but you
Yeah,
know, people didn't bitch. You say to people, "How you doing?" People are like, "I'm great." Right? Life
yeah,
is wonderful. It's like it is worthy of note that almost without exception in my experience with people in real poverty, the irony is so many of them are able. It's one of the reasons why I love American black humor. Yeah,
yeah,
black people humor. I'm not talking about dark humor. I'm talking about black people humor, right? Because, it is true that as a people, they have it very, very hard here. That is true. It's
mhm,
getting better, but it's true. And I'm not going to go into the police killings and all like that, which is horrible, right? But I'm just talking about people just living. Like that black family that took me in when I was a kid. They lived in poverty, baby.
mhm,
Was
yeah,
poverty stricken. Yeah. And again, whenever there was the availability of joy or humor or ease, right, man, they would milk it. And mostly with humor. Just
yeah,
this
yeah,
beautiful humor,
yeah.
this lovely humor. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Is like for the Vietnamese people that I was with, I never saw them complain, so I wasn't there long enough to know if they do complain, but they were very happy, very humorous, laughed a lot, and they, like I was saying, they appreciated. They took care of their houses, like there was a little apartment, one room, but they took care of it. They made sure everything was clean, tidy, in their positions. They had shelves and made the best out of the little space that they had. So I couldn't say if they bitched or complained, but I do know they really worked hard to make their little place, their little area
Shine.
where,
Yes.
yeah, shine, exactly. And where a lot of people here in America do not put that effort in at all, to their places.
Because what
They
they
did
have is automatically substandard. Yeah.
exactly kind of, yeah. If it's something like my size of house, oh God, don't I'm it's definitely substandard, to the people, to other people. I
Well,
I I'm
in India again years ago in my 3 foot by 9 foot cell with no windows. Yeah, one of the walls was woven bamboo, by the way, so I
yeah,
could through it. There were little teeny windows, yes, and many evenings when I was done with meditation, the beauty, the extreme beauty of that little space with the little lamp that was coconut oil with a wick, that made the warmest, gentlest light, yeah, and just being beside myself with the beauty of that space on planet Earth. Yeah. So well done, dude. Well done. You see,
Yeah.
you
And
don't
that's
mention.
yeah, and that, I'm just trying to bring it back to the saying of you know you can make your life can be miserable or it can be amazing, but the work is all the same, and
Right.
it's up to you.
Right. But then we have to go back and why do, as a group, why do we subscribe to the dark side of the force instead of the light side of the force? See, this is the real question.
Yeah.
This is not about positive affirmation where you say, I'm going to think good thoughts, I'm going to think good thoughts, I'm going to think good thoughts. No, we need to go into the residue of why we feel that having bad thoughts is more real. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Is more foundational. Yeah.
And so this is, I think, is the top of the line. It's a product of everything that came before it. So I don't know what the cause is, but this is a product, I would say, of all of that. Is that nowadays in my time that a lot of social media, they I don't know what the word is, but they popularize, or they fantasize depression, and they make it seem cool, you know?
Hey,
And so
hi.
everyone wants to be depressed.
They reinforce despair.
Yeah, yeah. And 90% of the memes that you see on Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr or any of the sites, they're all about, you know, I'm depressed. Isn't this relatable? And everyone likes it because it's so relatable. They're like, yeah, that's me too. That's me too. That's me too. And it's just like something depressing, and that's something that everyone probably feels. But so just all these negative ideas of depression and sadness and not being able to overcome our obstacles is constantly reinforced in the media. And I don't usually think the media is all that bad, but I do see this a lot just in my own anecdotal view, just with everything, with media, with social media. It's constantly reinforced that we are depressed people, that we can't overcome this unless we take drugs, and everything's bad, and everything's too hard to accomplish, and so that's what I see in the media. And if you're someone who doesn't have anybody to talk to like you and me, and you don't know how to work these things out, and that's what you're seeing every day, that's what you're gonna believe, and then it becomes really even harder to overcome those things because that's your world. You're like, I believe this.
Reinforced. Then
Yeah.
is reinforced. That is why, again, that Don Juan ditty about the average man looks for confirmation in the eyes of the onlooker. That's clear, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
other
yeah.
person,
Yeah, I'm
right?
just looking for affirmation, kind of, or like
Or
positive
affirmation or reinforcement, not affirmation, but
yeah,
reinforcement,
yeah,
right? Of the justification of being a victim.
yeah.
Yes, is that what you mean?
With what?
Everything's wrong and life sucks, and I feel you, and I'm like
Yeah,
that too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, um, um, well, the sorrow here is that is so. I'm sorry, but that's so unimaginative because that's kind of, that is what the masses believe. See,
Yeah.
that's what again. It is safe to say, based on social media, that the redundant expressions tend to be negative rather than positive. Am I mistaken in that?
Yes.
I'm mistaken in that.
No, 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 no. You're correct. The redundant expressions tend to be negative.
Right.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So this is why finally we're back to old Steven Seagal again. So I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
It's about me. See, you
So
know,
I have a question. What do you think is another factor that leads to the the question they asked is just like why depression is so, or what was the question? I forgot the question, but what my answer to was basically that social media reinforces de- reinforces these negative emotions, and that's why it's so prevalent. But what caused this widespread, you know, uh, just
uh,
negative?
Really, what it comes down to, we're going to have to elaborate on that. And what I think is, I mean, I don't know for sure, but what I think
Yeah.
in viewing humankind now for in consciousness for about half a century, yeah, I'll say from when I was 20 on, right, and seeing number one that we do believe that in following the roller coaster every day of random thought, of insubstantial drifting mind,
Yeah.
most of which is complaint. You see,
Yeah.
most of that is about ourselves as being victimized, being ripped off, not being appreciated, right? Right. And so that becomes then our norm, our return. And I do think that that is foundationally the reason why so many of us do that. And we think that that is the most real thing. And this does come out of, again, the quiet, pre-conscious, subconscious training that we are our thought, you see,
Hmm.
right? That we really are our thought. And we are not our thought. We are something much, much bigger than that, or subtler than that, or something, but we are not that insubstantial. You know, the way we all experience periodically that we get a song stuck in our head and we can't get it out of our head, right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's too much leisure time, dude. Well, that's what we do. That's what we do with random thoughts. The same thing.
Yeah.
We have the same sort of round of thoughts, right? They may vary a little bit, but basically all day long, throughout weeks and months and years, even decades unto death. Yes, that is what we invest in. And then number one, what's being reinforced is a negative way of looking at life, right? Number one, right?
Yeah.
Number two, we are then not experiencing life itself. We are experiencing our narrative of life
What we're being told it is
by ourselves.
by ourselves,
The
and that's
whole of
just yeah.
random thought,
Yeah.
you know. You
Definitely.
see, right? So, uh, my thought is, I think, also with, psychotherapeutic training and, 50 years of Zen practice and all like that, that this is why, because we do ride that roller coaster of random thought all day long, even into sleep.
Hmm.
And by and large, that roller coaster is based on the dark side of the force. It is based on complaint. It is
Hmm.
based on victimization. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do, and that's how we reinforce it. And that's how we feel that it is foundationally more real than ideas that we can have about goodness or, love or, abundance or all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah. And so just to help me put it in little bit of perspective, all of the social media and media can help reinforce it for ourselves that this is true,
Hype,
which makes it worse.
which it does. It does.
Yeah.
All of our society does that.
Yeah.
Yes?
And
American society says that, and part of this is because we were raised with media, which means that we have been inundated with the psychology of advertisement, which has its foundation based on reminding us that we are in a perpetual state of lack,
yeah.
right? And therefore we have to buy the Lexus or the arm candy or the house or all that. We need more
Need.
complete.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
to be complete. You
Yeah.
understand? Be complete.
Yeah.
So we're in a perennial state of incompleteness that leaves us in a state of sorrow,
Yeah.
and that then is the way we view life. Yeah.
Yeah. And so many people in my generation and before and all around, peers and everyone, they're always saying though, I want purpose. I want to be, I want to live a purposeful, fulfilling life.
Right.
But
That
what
will
does
make
that
the
mean?
sorrow. That will make the sorrow and the suffering of it worth it. You see.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's So at face value, I guess that's not so bad, but the fact is that, even unto the Hubble telescope, even unto E equals MC squared, the fact is that, our doings in the face of eternity are always going to be tiny.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we need to do, in part, to counter all this is to come back to the mystery of the fact that we have occurred, that we that we
Yeah.
be, that we need to come back and re-explore that, And the irony of doing that, right, is that you gain amazing wonder in going into that. In wonder, there is again a sense of gratuitous, automatic gratitude. If we are in a state of gratitude, the damnedest thing is we then have much more energy to then invest in doing. But we invest in doing with the understanding that that is not what makes life valid. Coming back to being given life at all is the thing that makes life valid, which again, in humanistic cultures, we do not even touch.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of makes me think like when we're looking for purpose and fulfillment, we are being told by society or whoever that it's cars or money or a big job or Lexuses, and so we're all looking for those type of things to fulfill. Would you say that that's a lot of people in this culture are doing that? They're
Yes,
looking for this
endlessly, endlessly.
superficial things to fulfill their life quest of purpose.
Right. And then that doesn't work. And then it's like, well, what the fuck is this? You
Yeah.
see, life sucks.
And
You know,
what we're talking about is something a lot more, I wouldn't say simple, but a lot more
it is
grounded.
it is more simple. It's much more simple.
A little more grounded, where it's just a reassessment of how you perceive life and go through it
Hype,
almost.
hype. That's
And
exactly
if
right.
you can just reassess that, you can. It's not easy. It's not easy like a magical cure all, but
No,
it.
no, no, no. It does, and really, what it does take is the work
Yeah.
of really pitting your convictions. Remember, I don't know if this has been brought up before, but the third patriarch of Zen,
Mhm.
in his Song of Faith in Mind, is what it's called. Yeah, that's where he says, "Seek not the truth, only cease to cherish conviction." See, so our conviction is that unless we have endless acquisition, yes, that
Mhm.
life is somehow substandard. We've been trained to believe that. And by the way, we should be furious about that because that comes out of the psychology of advertising.
Hi, hi, and I don't want to say this is as a fact, but I'll ask as a question. Do you think it also came out of the old 50s America where we had so much abundance that it was all about everyone has a house, a car, a family, and everyone has as much, basically more than just enough to live, but like you have a lot to live, and that was everybody in America at a certain time. And like that was kind of the America norm was to have a lot, and so it
Well,
comes from
understand that was only after we went through, the terrible, terrible lack of World War II and the Great Depression. You dig?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely,
This goes back through the history of our kind, dude.
yeah,
This goes all the way back to, the very legitimate hand wringing by the tribes of Israel being the slave caste of first, Babylon and then Egypt. I mean, this
yeah,
goes way,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this goes all through all of our history, all through all of our history. The fact is that in America, an astonishing abundance was attained in the 50s, mostly for white people in America.
Right.
See, Latinos would not say it was particularly abundant for them. Black people would certainly not say it was abundant for them because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, two things that I really like right now is just I told you about this off of our conversations, I believe, but there's a lot of younger people my age who are building tiny homes out of
hi,
two reasons. One, out of not having enough money, being broke, but
hi.
two, out of sustainability. They want to leave less of a footprint. And these tiny homes are totally sustainable. The water gets reused for all the different, functions of the house, and there's solar panels and all these different things. So they're basically off-grid tiny houses.
Hi.
And and it's this thing that we're doing in reaction. Some of us, some people that are alive right now are doing in reaction to this more and to this that Americana. We need more and advertising more and more and more. And
I,
and that
endlessly,
and,
endlessly.
and that hasn't just led to the destruction of our planet, but well, I mean the destruction of our consciousnesses and our ability to appreciate things in life, but it's also led to the destruction of the planet, which is
I,
far,
I,
far.
Right, and
Their problem.
all of this has its inception in chronic low-grade despair.
Yeah.
Despair, right?
Yeah.
Which is so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking because, again, old Aldous Huxley said that 2/3 of our problems in life, if we have, again, the supreme good fortune to be where you and I are.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We are
Yeah.
not suffering in the South Bronx or Compton or the bowels of Rio de Janeiro or Jesus Christ, the leather tanning district of Mumbai. Oh my
Yeah.
God, which is a hell world on planet Earth. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Question about that, man.
Yeah.
Jesus God, it's horrible. Yeah. So, but that is not what we experience.
Yeah.
So instead of wringing our hands and saying, the real norm, it gets difficult here because, again,
Mhm.
as we grow into world awareness, we do have to acknowledge, if we have any intelligence and any commiseration, that the norm for, let's just work with humanity for right now.
Everybody. Yeah.
I mean, right now, I think there's 75 percent of billion people on planet Earth, right? We're almost up to 8 billion people,
Yeah.
right? Well, it is true that fully 7 billion of us, right? We live in very, very, they live in very compromised settings, very, very compromised. I mean, what we have in America as a norm, or Canada, or the upper echelons of Mexico, or any upper echelons anywhere on the planet,
Yeah.
where again we live in a norm that, as we've spoken of, Pharaoh would spit blood to have. Yes. So most of us are living with in most places of the world, the fact that you live alone in that apartment would be a reference for significant luxury.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I haven't lived alone for past year, but but my grandma was here and then my mom's here now. But yes, but I do understand what you're saying. Like the fact that I
Well, again,
yeah,
in India, there would be 6 people living in that
exactly.
space.
Yeah, it's only one person. Yeah,
Happily,
yeah.
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 Um, 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 I would not, in terms of my own sense of the suffering of our kind and the suffering of other species. Yeah,
I was just unbuckling his little leash. But continue.
hi. That my dwelling is as big and as set up as anything I would dare to have without experiencing shame. Yeah. Um, um, remember Iron Man's Tony Stark's house in Malibu got
Yeah.
blown up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm sorry, but with so many people in suffering, I would be ashamed to have a house like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where the tiny home concept is so amazing, you know?
Hi, I feel
Or
you.
people building tiny homes.
Hi, hi. No. Um, at one point, I was working with a wealthy person, and I told a story about my last place, which was half this size, half
Mhm.
this size. Yeah. And I had a neighbor come in, and this is about my being anal retentive, fastidious, right? So my neighbor came in and she looked around. She goes, God, what a pretty little place. Does anybody live here? That was the story. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Well, I am so Felix Unger in The Odd Couple. I've been overwhelmed with Zen that I like everything in its place.
Yeah.
Anal, I
Which
get
is honestly kind of even to me that's a little disrespectful because your house isn't like your house is tidy and clean, but it's not anal retent. I wouldn't say it's anal retentive. It's beautiful and decorated, but I don't think it's anal. You know, I don't know.
well, thank you
I
for
think
that. It's very nice. Anyway, so that was the story, and then my rich student said, "Yeah, uh, it really is it really is a beautiful little place. And I didn't go there, but it's like, no, no. She was talking about my last place, my rich friend, that was half this size. So for her, she views this place as a little place.
Yeah.
And to me, it is not a little place. It is a big house.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm learning a lot more right now about Native American cultures. And one thing that I'm doing that's really helping me kind of reassess the culture and re-understand it is kind of not just saying cut and dry, but I'm kind of taking my understanding of Japanese culture and using that as a little bit of a filter
Hi,
to
hi.
understand how these guys interact with the world.
Very
And
similar. Very similar.
very similar, yeah. And just the idea of resource management and everything that these cultures are known for. It's just there's a reason these guys have been thinking about this for thousands of years, obviously. But I think that in our lives, we can do both. We can have these technologies, and then we can go back to sustainability and living off the land and working with nature and not dominating and not using all the resources. And if we can, more and more of us can do that, I think there will be a big
And
change with the world.
let's take it, if you don't mind, I'm going to take it a little bit farther than working with nature into cherishing nature, which is what indigenous cultures do. And again, the Japanese culture began, like every single culture, as an
Yeah,
indigenous culture, but it did not lose that to me, that beautiful cherishing. The same is true of Song Dynasty China, where the intelligentsia cherished nature. Somebody from Quail Run gave me a beautiful book of poetry by a Song Dynasty poet. And again, it, it is so sweet, the intimacy that these poems evoke about being in nature, the intimacy of it, the cherishing of it.
yeah.
And in that, there's astonishing abundance. And once again, in abundance, then we come back to a sense of, gratitude.
It reminds me of Don Juan and the hill, and this is your hill, not to have, but to take care of.
What to take care of. That
Yeah,
is exactly right. That is exactly right.
yeah.
Yes. And with the Zen group, Marco, at one point I told him that Swami, one of my teachers in India, used to say that his meditation cushion was his throne of eternity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marco really liked that. He really
Yeah.
liked that. So now he has all of us bowing to our chairs when we become the Zen group because they too are our thrones of eternity.
Yeah,
Right?
that is awesome.
Which is true. See, it's not just a nice idea, it's the truth.
Hi.
It is
Yeah.
truth. See?
And
Yeah.
anything can be like that, like the story that you told me of I don't know who it was, but about the paper cup, the little paper cup. He's like,
Hi.
you people,
Styrofoam.
styrofoam cup. Yeah,
Hi. Hi. Now,
you can tell me the story.
in case anybody does listen to this, and for your edification, that was Yasutani Roshi. And
Yasutani
Yasutani
Roshi.
Roshi was the teacher of Philip Kapleau, who was one of the first Zen masters, and the teacher of Aiken Roshi,
Hi. Okay.
the Hawaiian guy, the
Yeah.
guy, distinguish the voice of birds and make the best use of my time.
Hi.
Both of those American Zen masters studied under Yasutani Roshi. Yes?
Okay.
Hi. Hi.
And where was that? Was that in Japan or was that in?
In Japan and here.
Okay.
Yasutani Roshi came to America. The Philadelphia housewife who I've told you about, who I consider one of my teachers, the one with the sneakers,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That Shirley, that wonderful woman, she also studied with Yasutani Roshi.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right. The Zen monk who was then Tai-san, who is now gone and became Aido Roshi and ended up in infamy because he fucked a whole bunch of his students. But anyway, he was the main student of Yasutani Roshi, and he is the guy who introduced me to Zen practice when I was just becoming 18 years old.
Wow. How old was he at that point?
he was in his 30s,
Wow.
and Yasutani was probably in his 60s,
And where did you get to meet him?
in New York City.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool.
Hi, hi.
Yeah.
And we trained at the Zen Studies Society, which had been set up about 6 years prior by D.T. Suzuki, who you know about. D.T. Suzuki is the guy who died saying thank you, thank you, thank you. That guy.
Yeah. That's what I hope to do.
Hi. Well, again, the quote Augustus McCrae in Lonesome Dove, damn it, Woodrow, it ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living.
Yeah, right.
Let's live
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Let's live
Right.
like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes?
Right.
Hi.
Right.
So what you and I are doing in these discussions, and what you and I have been doing with each other for as long as we've known each other, is going into the beliefs that we carry that keep us in a state of, again, abject denial that joy is possible in life,
Right.
which is just, it is beyond heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's also utterly untrue.
And I think it's really important because even if we know these ideas, we could easily forget them and lapse into just, doing the same things over again, mundanity, and and it's really good to refamiliarize yourselves with these ideas constantly so that you can continuously, just realign yourself with how to live a good life.
Let's call it a fulfilled life. How about that? Fulfilled.
A fulfilled life. Huh? Yeah.
Fulfilled in a way that leaves any of our doings in the dust. In the dust.
Huh.
Yes? In the dust.
I think that's a worthwhile goal.
So the method you see, is going into, we make a statement. Yes? Joy in life as a norm is possible. Then if we want to really, really work with this, then what we need to do is honor and acknowledge in ourselves what beliefs do we carry that say, oh, bullshit. Yes? And then look at those beliefs. How valid are they? See? Right? And in that process, you understand? Right? Neti, not this, not this. We can begin to shed those things, and then we don't have to come back to this stance of using these ideas as like a buttress or a shield against the bad of life. It stops being only bad.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm working so hard on shedding away all of my knowns about reality. It's so hard for me to play the devil's advocate, but so I am working harder on trying to be the devil's advocate in these situations. But it looks like we're up at time right now.
Man, boy, that was fast, huh, man?
Yes.
So let's keep with this, and I do want to go into, again, remember, to come back into the now is only the beginning. It's what we do when we're back in the now, you see? And what we can do in the now, once we have gone through the rigor and the crucible, it's difficult, of pitting our convictions against let's just use the mirror of the possibility of having a joy-filled life. Joy-filled life. I mean, no bullshit for me.
Why can't we? Or how do we?
Indeed, and what we do is we say that again, these are at best engaging ideas, but my foundation of complaint is the truth. You see what I mean? Yes, right? So we need to go back into those truths and separate them and actually look at them individually. Yes? My life sucks because I don't have a Lexus.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I mean, how valid is that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a car ever in my life, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. But I think I don't think it's a valid complaint at all. Like it's not a. I mean, for some people it's a necessity, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think it's a luxury.
No. Having a Lexus, maybe having a car is a necessity.
Yeah,
but
that's what I meant.
Lexus, I'm sorry, is not a necessity. Yes.
Yeah, Lexus is a luxury item.
Right now, having shelter and food are necessities. But that does not mean that, again, you need to go to Santa Cafe for all your meals and, drop $400 a day to eat and live in a goddamn mansion. It does not mean that you need that in order to be in the now in a state of ease. You see?
Yeah.
You don't need that.
Yeah, most of the time that will not produce, they'll produce the exact opposite effect that you're just looking for. It'll produce despair and because the bills and I mean, it depends on who you are, but for a lot of people it could cause a lot of despair.
Hi, which again is kind of ironic and silly, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how about taking half of one of those meals from Santa Cafe and giving it to a homeless person?
Seriously.
Yeah, right. Okay. So anyway, dude, I'll see you tomorrow night. There's something I wanted to ask you about.
Working?
No. Can you try to get the qigong files up from your iCloud?
Yeah, I'll look right now after this and I'll see if I can find them.
Cool. Because again, I blew it as an old man and I did not put them on cloud. They're just on my hard drive, and then my hard drive crashed, so I lost some of it. Yeah.
Okay. I should have them, and I'll let you know tomorrow.
Cool.
If I find them, I will just email them over to you.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, dude. So I did check out the last at the end. And we're not getting a particularly huge response, but
Yeah.
I don't care. Let's just keep doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing is, they'll be up there forever or for a long time. And I think
I would
it's like
really
a snowball thing.
I would like that. And
Yeah.
we also want to come back, again into once we are back in the now, what do we do with that? What do we do with that? Because that in and of itself is not enough. Mm-hmm. Then, to quote Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland and the Beatles, yes, then we become the walrus. And the time has come, the walrus said, in the now, to think of other things. You dig? Yeah?
Yeah.
Like our relationship with eternity instead of our relationship with the PNM bill. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just as an aside, you know what I'm saying?
No, I do. I definitely do.
I know you do. All right, dude. I love
it. All right, I love you too, man. You have a good day. All right.